Hey, welcome to Jazz After Dark, everybody. How you doing out there? I'm going to teach you something here tonight that may seem obvious. I'm going to share some data with you so you can see how we come to this, but is going to save you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars or more. And if you are someone who is taking RMDs, we got to talk. If you're someone who's going to get close to taking RMDs soon, we got to talk. And if you're someone who's younger and you're like, I don't know if this is going to apply to me, hang with me. I want you to just remember this one video, this one lesson is so super important. A lot of people don't know they can do this. So let's get started. I've got my old fashioned here, thanks to Dustin Dodge. He commented on the closing beat that he was having an old fashioned. I said, you know what? I'm going to get me an old fashioned with the broken barrel in there and just dripping the ever so last bit of the Whistle Pig syrup that they sent me for my birthday, and some Woodford Reserve Spiced Cherry Bitters. Phenomenal, by the way. Actually, I'm going to be up that way. Maybe I'll stop by and get some more. Okay. Who has been one of these people who has made an emotional decision and sold while the market was down? I've been there, right? We've all had to go through that and then watch the market just rally back without us, and you're like, okay, I'm never doing that again. Yeah, lesson learned, right? It's like you have to go through that once. It's like a rite of passage there. The difference now is that you have a choice of whether you'll respond that way or not. But when you get older and you're forced to take out RMDs, right now it's 72.5 for most people is what you have to take your RMD at. It's going to graduate 73, 74, 75. So if you're under the age of like 55, or no, even older than that, basically your RMD is going to be 75. And the point I'm making is at that point, you have no choice. If you have a IRA, or let's say you roll over a 401k into an IRA, not a Roth IRA, but a traditional IRA, rollover IRA, simple IRA, SEP IRA, you have to start taking RMDs, required minimum distributions. The government forces you. They let you get away with that tax break for a while, and now they're like, yo, old Jazzy's getting up there in age. You need to start taking your money out so that we can get some tax money. So I understand why they do it. But what happens if you go to take your RMD and the market's down? That's like the worst feeling in the world. If you sold and you took the money out when the market was down because you panicked, all right, slap on the butt. You know what I mean? We can't do that again. Don't let that hurt you next time. You learned your lesson. You rode the roller coaster and the roller coaster won, right? But when you get to be RMD age, clients ask me this all the time. They're like, I don't want to take my RMD. I mean, I know I have to. I can't get around the law. It used to be a 50% penalty, although none of my clients have ever paid a 50% penalty. I can fight that one for you. It's still a stiff penalty. Now it's 25%. And so what I want to talk about today is a couple things that you can do to get around that. The first one, not so obvious. Not many of us are blessed to be in this position, but you can give an in-kind contribution to a charity from your RMD, or as part of your RMD, or all of it, up to $100,000 actually. Eric's done a great job of talking about this in the past, so I'm not going to bore you with that one. The moral of the story is, if you have to take out $20,000 in RMDs, you could just direct it as a whole. Don't touch it. You can direct it towards that charity, and you don't have to pay taxes on it. So that's one thing you can do. Most people either need their RMDs or they're not in a position to be giving away too much of their money. Maybe at some point, but we want to make sure this goes right. I hope you find yourself in that position, that you can give away some money. The other thing, the most important thing that you can do here is you can move, it's called journaling. You can move your RMD, the positions and everything. So let's say you need to take out $20,000 and you own $20,000 of the market. You don't have to sell your position, right? Normally in RMD, you've got to sell your position, take out the cash, and the government doesn't care what you do with it, mostly, but you could take out the money. Well, you could say, wait a minute, I have 10 shares, 20 shares, or 100 shares of whatever the position is that equals my RMD. What if I just pick it up and put it in a brokerage account? because the market's down. That's the example we're simulating today. I don't want to sell here. I want it to recover. Then I'll consider selling it. So you can actually do that. You could pick those shares up, put them in an individual brokerage account or a joint account. Maybe you have an account with your spouse or something, whatever, a taxable account. Now you owe taxes because the government's not letting you get away with that. So you'll say, let me take my $20,000 in positions, put it over here. The government needs a few dollars. Maybe I have some other tax strategies I can work on to minimize that. But I want that position to recover. And at some point in the future, maybe I'll donate those shares if all goes well. Maybe I'll leave them to my kids, whatever it is. Huge difference. And I'm going to give you a great example. It's the last great example we have. From 2008 onwards, I'm going to use a 10-year stretch from 2008 to 2018 because back then your RMD age was 70 and a half. So I'm presuming that from 70 to 80, you're like, oh my God, this sucks. The market's down. I'm selling positions to take my RMD. I don't want to do this. So I built a little scenario. Don't mind the purple stuff down here. That's the bottom of it. I can't get rid of that. So what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, first, let's compare two different scenarios. The orange line is if in the beginning of 2008, see how it says January on the tooltip there. So the very, very beginning of 2008, I've got to withdraw my RMD. So in other words, this would be my first year I've got to take it out. And I'm going to take out $20,000. I can't quite get my finger to stop. They almost stopped perfectly there. I can't get it to stop on January 1. But we're saying I've got $500,000 and well, let's go like this. Okay, so here the blue line represents your withdrawals, nothing else, just your withdrawals. So I start with $500,000 right in there, and I've got to take out $20,000, okay? And what we're comparing it to, the orange line is if you took your money out and you spent it, right? You took it all out, full RMD, you didn't journal it, you didn't move it over to anything else. The purple line is simulating if you took half your money out. Okay, so let's get this straight. So we've got $20,000 that needs to come out of your account as an RMD, and you didn't watch this video. You didn't know any better. You just took the $20K out and bought half a car or something. Them things are expensive these days. And in the other scenario, the purple line, we're saying, what if you still are in a position you needed to take out something, maybe $10,000 from your IRA, so we took half, and maybe you could survive off your Roth IRA, Social Security, old Roth 401k, pension plan, whatever you have, but you needed to take some of that RMD to meet your expenses. So scenario number one, we take it all out. Scenario number two, we take half of it out, and we take the rest and we put it in a brokerage account so it can recover with the stock market. Look at the difference here. So at the end of this 10-year stretch from the beginning of 2008 to the end of 2018, if you took all of your RMD out, you did great, right? You still ended up with more than you started with, which is awesome, but you got $652,000, and I leveled the RMD. I don't know that I have the ability to calculate exactly the RMD, so I just kept it at $20,000. I know that's low. In this scenario, we only took out half and we let the remaining half stay invested. You got darn near $1 million. 80 years old sitting with $1 million. And it's a great position to be in, right? Now, granted, we didn't take much out of the IRA. It was $20,000. We could probably change the number somehow. I could put that together for you and say, let's do another scenario that's not only RMDs, but withdrawals as well. But look at what the argument I'm making is. You look at the value of this account here in orange. You were at $500,000. Strike that. You were at $485,000, okay? And I misspoke. Instead of 20, I used 15,000. Sorry about that. So down here at one point, the value of your account after taking your RMD out, which was only in year number one, right? The second part of year number two. So you'd only taken out your first RMD. You had half the amount of money. That's horrible. You went from 500 to basically 250,000. Now, to be fair, the market was really weak, and it had that was supposedly the end of the world. We thought the banks were closing and that was going to be the end of the world. So could you imagine if you took your RMD and just went and spent it not knowing any different versus maybe moving it into a brokerage account or taking half out and moving the rest into a brokerage account? something that allows you to say, well, let me recover a little bit. And maybe in this point you said, okay, I got expenses. I can't wait any longer. Okay, well, at least at this point you've recovered. You didn't sell because you were told by your advisor or whoever, take your RMD. A couple years later, you're back making a profit here on your money that you moved, and shortly thereafter, money that your account's back to whole. That's a stressful period. I'll be honest, right? I'm not saying that I had to take RMDs and live through that, but could you imagine year after year after year after year, we're telling you, you have to take your RMD. I'm sorry, your account balance used to be 500 and well, you've taken some money out, but now it's 300. Could you imagine the stress people would have at that point thinking, am I going to make it? Like, do I have enough money? And that's only $500,000 for someone who is done, right? In retirement. So, look, I know not everybody's in a position to be able to do that. Even if it's only an eighth of your account, or maybe it's a couple years where you're living off your Roth or your 401k. If the market is down, just move that sucker over. Move it to a brokerage account. Donate it if you want to. But nonetheless, these are returns in your retirement. So it's less about what the stock market did, because I'm assuming you're invested in the S&P. 75 years old, you may not be taking all that risk in an S&P. You may be in like something more conservative. But at that point in your life, to be able to get returns by simply making a different decision, not taking an additional risk, not taking some weird strategy with annuities or anything, but just simply knowing what your options are, come on. It's incredible. I love that stuff. So I hope that helps. And if we did, we're financial advisors. We would love to work with you. Me, myself, Eric, everybody else that's here. We're a growing business, small fish in a big pond. I get you. I give you that. But we never touch your money. We have no right to it. So we never would ask you to send us money, unlike other advisors. We'll hope you'll keep us in mind and consider us. And if you like old fashions, we're going to get along just fine. Don't you worry about that. So I wish you a good rest of your evening. I'm actually ahead of schedule tonight, so feeling pretty good. And we'll be back tomorrow to do this all over again. Thanks for watching.